Is it on? Okay. After a couple of years, now it's time for POCO to launch their new non-rebrand phone. And here it is, POCO X3. After launching POCO F1 couple of years ago, now it's time for POCO X3 to be launched, and it's launched globally and the Indian variant has also been launched. So let's talk about POCO X3. So let's talk about design first, because I love to talk about design first. It has the 6.67 inches big display with a Corning Gorilla Glass 5 protection, but the back is plastic and cheaper plastic is used here. If you remember, POCO X2 has a good Corning Gorilla Glass 5 classy glass back there, but POCO X3 has a slightly cheaper badge styling is given, and if you watch, the POCO branding is very much big and it feels very much cheaper. Even under 10,000 phones are even better styled than that phone, I think. Going forward, display is the good department of POCO always, because in POCO X2, you watched or not, I don't know, I had done a full review of POCO X2 with the device itself. I will give the link here on the I button. Go and check out. It's so much important because X2 and X3 are almost the same without the battery. So POCO X2 has a 6.67 inches great display with 120 Hz refresh rate. Not the refresh rate is great, but also the colors. The LCD panel produces very bright and contrasty colors that are good to look, as well as the AMOLED display. So under 20,000 it had the best display, and in POCO X3 they used the same display, so display is going to be very much good. And it's a single punch hole display, and the punch hole is in the middle, which looks a bit nicer, and the punch hole is too much small. So if we talk about cameras in POCO X3, it has a 64 megapixel quad camera setup in numbers. 64 megapixel main plus 13 megapixel ultra wide plus 2 megapixel macro and 2 megapixel depth. 2 megapixels are nothing but showing off that, hey look, our phone has a quad camera setup, but that's none of use. 2 megapixel macro is not usable. I used on POCO X2, and as same as POCO X3, you will never use the depth sensor. So it's none of use. So, but 64 megapixel sensor, which is a Sony IMX sensor, is pretty good, and it's the same as POCO X2. But I hope that they improve the sensor and their AI quality, because POCO X2 it was great, but now it's time to upgrade. The ultra wide sensor is also good. It produces a warm tone, as well as some of the time it produces a overexposed photo, but with HDR you can get away with it. It's not a big deal. Selfie has a 20 megapixel front camera setup, as same as POCO X2. But the POCO X2 has a dual camera setup, but the second camera was a depth camera, which is none of use. They didn't give, and they ditched on POCO X3. It's very good because they could sell the phone cheaper. The 20 megapixel sensor does a pretty decent job, I'll say. Let's talk about UI and OS. Out of the box, it has an Android 10 and MIUI with POCO launcher. I don't like POCO launcher because of too much bloatwares and a full bunch of ads. If you want to install an app, you have to go through a half screen ad that's not good for users, and it feels too much cheap. POCO and Xiaomi both has to get aware of it, because it's not tolerable right now. Talking about processor, it has the newly launched 732G processor, which is as same as 730G, but the good news is it's India's first phone with 732G processor. Again, the bad news is it's not so much better than 730G. It's almost the same, as 730G, 720G and 732G are the same processors with, what I will say, different names. Yes, so the AnTuTu scores and the benchmark scores are all same, and no change is here. So it's not an upgrade from POCO X2. It's a bit disappointing, but it's okay. Let's talk about other points. And the battery is a big point where the POCO X3 jumps a lot, because it comes with 6000 mAh battery, which is huge. If we talk about under 20,000 phones, there are lots of phones. I think over 40 phones are there, but there are only 3 or 4 phones which come with 6000 mAh battery, like POCO X3 is the new one, Samsung M31, M31s, Samsung M30s. These phones are with 6000 mAh battery, and except M31s, all phones come with 15 or 18 watt fast charging, which charges the phone over 2 hours. That's a big time for charging, and someone has not 2 hours to give the phone to charge till 100%. So M31s, it has a 25 watt fast charging, which charges the phone less than 1.5 hours. That's good. But after that, POCO X2 has a 33 watt fast charging. In my opinion, it will charge the phone less than 1.45 hours, and with 1.45 hours of charge, you could get a over than 12 hours screen on time. Let's talk about points, because Samsung M31s has a Exynos 9611, which is a 10nm processor, which costs a little bit of battery, but it has a Super AMOLED display, so it causes less battery than a LCD display. But again, the POCO X3 has a LCD display which costs much battery, but comes with a 732G processor, which is based on 8nm architecture and costs less battery. So I think it will last as same as M31s. M31s lasts up to plus 11 hours, and you could easily get a 2 days battery backup with this phone. But if you are not a hardcore user, you could get a 3 days also. That's a big deal. Now, if you should buy, or if you want to buy, in my opinion, it's not the best phone as POCO X2, and POCO X2 also is not the best phone right now, because it's a 6 months old phone. Realme 6 Pro is also 6 months old phone. So now it's time for the new generation to come, and it's Realme 7 Pro. Only because of new generation, the Realme 7 Pro is good, and after that, Realme 7 Pro is now the best under 20k, and other phones like Narzo 20 Pro is a very good phone under 20k. You should check out both of these if you are trying to buy under 20,000 phone. POCO X3 is also a good option under 20k, which rises up because it comes with all the POCO X2 options, plus 6000 mAh battery and not a glass back. That's pretty disappointing, but not too much. If you want to buy POCO X2 right now, you should go with POCO X3, because X2 is older more than 6 months and gone through many more updates. Now it's older, so you should buy POCO X3. So that's been it for the day. If you enjoyed the video, or if you took something from the video, be sure to like the video, share the video with friends who wants to buy phone under 20k, or who wants to buy POCO X2, or wants to know about POCO X3, or he or she is a tech guy. Be sure to share with them and comment below if you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Till then, peace out.